How's it going, everyone? Randall, aka Shizukatz, here on the Tressa's Collectibles channel, and today we're going to be doing a product opening for the newly released booster set in Weiss Schwarz, Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon, aka Danmachi. So this is a set that's been out in JP for a little over half a year now, and now we are getting the English release, so we've had some time to see what works and what doesn't, and we're going to be taking a look at a lot of the cards featuring a lot of your guys' favorite characters from the show. Characters like Hestia, who of course is a fan favorite, and then some of the other characters in the show such as Bell, Ais, Lily, who's personally my favorite, and we've got a whole bunch of other characters from all of the other crews in the show. We're going to be opening for you guys one trial deck and two booster boxes here today. And so we'll be showing you guys a lot of the cards that are in here, what we think is good, what is not so good, what is great for building on a budget, things like that. You know, so some of the usual stuff that we like to go through as we open our booster boxes and things like that. Now, as far as the SP ratios in this set, you're looking at, for the trial deck, the usual two per trial deck case of 48. And it would be one copy of the Hestia signed from the trial deck and one copy of the Ais. And in the booster set, it'll be 3 SPs per booster case, typically. That's what you can expect from opening these products. And before we get into the actual opening, of course, got to take a look at the beautiful case topper playmats, as these are the stitched edge variety that come with the new booster sets, the ones that are not the EN originals. These stitch edge playmats come one per booster case and has that beautiful cover art, same cover art that we see on the front of our booster box. So without further ado, we're going to get right into our product opening with the trial deck. Okay guys, let's get right into the opening with our one trial deck plus. So as with all trial decks, these are pre-constructed decks that are intended to be playable straight out of the box. Of course, you can upgrade these with some of the cards from the booster pack to strengthen your deck. Additionally, one route that some players go for is buying 2 copies of the trial deck, allowing them to have a full playset of 4 copies of every single available card, and that can be really useful for certain profiles where you only get 2 copies per trial deck. So included in every trial deck, of course, we have the quick guide showing you some of the things you need to know as you get into playing Weiss Schwarz. And on the back, we do have some of the turn order and things like that. Everything you need to know to get started, basically. And of course, we have the paper playmat. Of course, you guys don't want the paper playmat, right? You guys want one of these beautiful case topper rubber mats. Now, let's get into the trial deck itself. So every trial deck for Danmachi includes 2 guaranteed SR foils, which will be the first 2 cards that we see in the trial deck. And as with pretty much every trial deck that is released in recent times, any card that has a chance to be a foil, whether that be a RRR or an SP, they will have 1 copy of each of those cards at the very back of the pack. And if you pull a foil, it will be replacing that copy at the back. So let's get right into the trial deck. So first card we have, the cover card, is the level 1 Climax combo Hestia. So this has a Climax combo with this Climax right here, which is the foil, A God's Roll. And although I would like to start talking about this card immediately, we're going to actually come back to this card later, as it has an interaction with another card in the trial deck that we need to take a look at before we can fully evaluate how this card, how good this card is and how it works. So let's get right into the yellow half of the trial deck. As you guys can see, this is a 2-color trial deck. We have both yellow and blue. So for our Brainstorm in the trial deck, we have 4 copies of the Lily. As with all recent trial deck Brainstorms, these are a Brainstorm 5 instead of the older 4, And in addition, when she's placed on stage from hand, you can discard a Familia, Guild, or Hostess of Fertility character from your hand to draw a card. So those are going to be the 3 central traits of Danmachi, those being Familia, Guild, and Hostess of Fertility. Hostess of Fertility, for those of you who aren't familiar, is the pub or the restaurant that some of the characters work at and some of the other characters they frequent to get food and refreshment. Alright, so here we have one of the highlight cards of this trial deck being the level 0 Ais. So this is a chaser, so she can run in front of one of your opponent's characters at the start of the opponent's attack phase. And in addition, if you have one or less other characters on stage besides the Ais, she goes up to 3,500 power. So 3,500 Chaser is a very powerful ability profile that we've seen from a lot of powerful sets recently, sets such as That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime on the level 0 Milim. It's also present in sets like 7 Deadly Sins on the level 0 Gilthunder. And this Ais is another addition to the 3,500 Chaser group. One bit of a downside on Ais compared to the other ones is that once you have 2 other characters besides Ais, she does fall down to 2k power, which means if you do want to attack your opponent 3 times as like a follow-up, basically, she will go down in power. So this is something that you need to watch out for, but there are actually some cards that you can combine with the Ais that allow you to circumvent this, not so much a downside, but the loss of power once you put enough characters on the board. So we'll hopefully be able to take a look at some of those later on. But this is definitely one of the highlight cards of the trial deck, and this is also the card that can come SP for Ais. Alright, so next up in the trial deck we have the level 0 Wealth. Being a 2-color trial deck, this only has yellow and blue cards, but Wealth in the actual booster pack itself is a red character. So this card has the ability where at the start of the Encore step, if you do not have another rested character in your front row, you can clock yourself from the top card of your deck in order to rest him. So this is similar to abilities we've seen on like level 0 Sayo and Bang Dream, except on this card it's clocking yourself instead of paying 1 stock. So that can actually be quite powerful in allowing you to accelerate yourself to level 1, maintaining advantage while also keeping the amount of stock you have the same. So pretty good profile. And this is an ability profile that I would really like to see paired with a secondary ability, whether it's like a utility or an on-play or just anything like that. I think that this variation where you clock yourself could potentially be very, very strong if paired with a good second ability. We have Lily 1-0. During your turn, she gets 4k power going up to 7k. And then when she is being front attacked, if you cancel the damage from your opponent's attack, you get to return her to your hand. So she gets really big on offense, and then while she does get very, very small on defense, if you're able to cancel that attack, you get to bring her back into your hand, play her back down on the next turn, and then continue killing your opponent's characters. Here we have the 1-1 Ais. It's pretty much a generic 1-1-7-5 hand encore, so you could potentially look into playing this in a standby-based build, bring this out at level 0. 2 copies of the Ais 3k backup, and 2 copies of the Lily level assist. She also has pay 2, rest her to salvage a Familia Guild or Hostess of Fertility character. So the 3 cards that you see here that are just 1 copy apiece, these are the cards that do have a chance to come foil. So as I mentioned earlier, the Ais has a chance to come SP, while the Lily and the 1-1 Ais have a chance to come triple R. Here we have our first climax. I'm sure this is a beloved section of the Danmachi opening with Bell and Hestia brushing their teeth and just kind of dancing from left to right. I know this is definitely one of my favorite parts of the opening. It's just so happy in an already pretty happy vibes opening. Alright, so we have level 0 Hestia getting onto the blue half of the trial deck. So this is a bonder to the 1-0 vanilla Bell, and you can bond to the Bell by paying 1 stock. And in addition, she gives all copies of the Bell an ability where when they attack, you can look at the top card of your deck and you can either leave it on top or put it on the bottom of your deck. So this can be very useful for if you're trying to trigger for specific amounts of damage, or if you're trying to like avoid triggering a climax off the top, it's a pretty good card for allowing you to control your triggers and give some usefulness to the vanilla. And it also gives Bell 1k when he attacks. And it does stack with every copy of the Hestia, so potentially something that you could do if you buy 2 trial decks is you could run 4 Bonder, 4 Bell, and you could try strategies where you want to put a lot of Bells and a lot of Hestias on the board so that they can get really big offensively, and also you get to scry the top card of your deck multiple times every time you attack. All right, the next card we have is level 0 Hestia. This is a level 0 bottom deck bomb, and she also has an effect where when you place her on stage from hand, you can discard a Familia, Guild, or Hostess of Fertility character to search your deck for the 1/1 or the 1/2 event status update, which is a card that goes with the level 1 combo. So when we get to the 1/2 event, we're gonna definitely talk about the level 1 combo as well. Next, we have 4 copies of the level 0 Bell Beater. When you have 2 or less cards in stock, he goes up to 3,500 power, very respectable. And when he's placed on stage from hand, you get to look at the top card of your deck, either leave it on top or put it on the bottom. So 3,500 beater with some utility, pretty good card. And yeah, this is definitely a great card to have at 4 copies in just a single copy, or in just a single trial deck, as this is a card that you're definitely going to want to see during your early game. Next, we have the other 3 copies of the 1/0 Hestia combo that we have foil. 2 copies of the 2/1 Bell. When he's placed on stage from hand, he gets 1,000 times the number of your characters, bringing him up to 12/5 offense max if you play him into a full board. So just a really nice card for beating over some of your opponent's bigger characters. And then here we have the 2 level 3s of the trial deck. So the first one we have is the level 3 Bell. He is an on-play heal and gains 1,500 power for every character in your opponent's back row. So this potentially allows him to reach a maximum power of 12,000 if your opponent has 2 characters in their back row. And then we have the 3/2 Hestia. This is the card that has a chance to come SP for Hestia. So she's an on-play. You can summon a character from your hand whose level is equal or lower than your current level. This allows you to save stock as that character that you're summoning from hand. If there are a character that would normally cost stock, you get to bypass that stock requirement. And additionally, when you place her on stage from hand, you can discard a card and you can force both players to shuffle all cards from their waiting room into their deck. And this can be a very powerful utility option if your opponent's got like a very small deck with a lot of climaxes, or if you have a very big deck with like no climaxes. It has that dual utility of allowing you to fix your deck or potentially mess up your opponent's deck state. So pretty neat. If you want to look into playing this card, I would probably recommend playing it as a one-of for the double utility, allowing you to save 2 stocks, summon a card from your hand, as well as that ability to mess with the deck states. All right, now here we have one of the most interesting cards that I've seen out of any trial deck, I think. And it's not the most interesting card by itself, but it becomes extremely cool when you combine it with the level 1 combo. So this 1/2 status update event, so you pay 2 stock, you put this card into your memory, and then at the start of your main phase, so this ability can't activate until the following turn because by the time you would play this card, the beginning of your main phase is already passed. So basically, you pay 2 stock, you put it into memory, and then on a future turn, you can activate this effect while this card is in memory. So what you do is you discard a character with either of the set's 3 traits, and then you put the card from memory back into your waiting room, and you look at up to 4 cards from the top of your deck, choose up to 4 characters from among them to your hand. So basically, if they're all characters, you get to add all of them to your hand, and then you send the rest to waiting room. So this could be a potential +2 because you use one card on the event itself, you discard a card in order to activate the ability, so that's -2. But if you get 4 cards back, then you're going +2 overall. And so that's a pretty cool card, but what makes it really, really cool is the interaction with the level 1 combo. So the level 1 combo says when this is placed on stage from hand, it gets power based on the number of your characters on stage, so potentially allowing her to get an additional 2,500 power. And then the climax combo with a God's Roll. As you can see, this is the scene where Hestia is analyzing Bell's stats. when she attacks, if you have this climax in the climax area, you get to choose one copy of Status Update in your hand, and you just get to send it straight to memory without having to pay the 2 stock cost. So this is a really, really neat card that allows you to basically get layaway advantage. And what I think is really, really cool is that, let's say you're able to set up 2 copies of the Hestia, and they're both able to send copies of the Status Update to memory. You don't have to activate both of these on the same turn. So what you can do is you can send one to memory, or one from memory to your waiting room on your next turn, get up to 4 cards potentially, and then save this one for a later stage of the game where you need to refill your hand once again, put this back, and then try to get even more cards. So it's a really, really neat way to play a level 1 combo. It's definitely spicy. Yeah, if you guys are looking for like a really, really neat level 1 combo, you can go ahead and try out this trial deck combo for sure. Alright, so for the rest of the climaxes in the trial deck, we have 2 copies of Next Stage. This is a level 1 or lower Stock Soul climax. We have the other 3 copies of God's Roll in their non-foil art. So we'll go ahead and put this right next to the foil. And then now we get on to the part of the pack where we might pull a triple R or SP. So let's go ahead and take a look one by one. So we have the 1/1 Lily. We have the 1/1 Ais. The level 3 Bell. Okay, there's the level 0 Ais. So this means that we did not pull an SP of the Ais. And we did not pull an SP of the Hestia level 3 either. So there's only one card left it could be, which is the level 0 Hestia Bomb. And looks like we did actually pull a triple R of the Hestia Bomb. So there we go. Let's get a good look at that real quick. And this Hestia actually does have matching art with the level 3 Bell as they're out on the town in Labyrinth City. So yeah, there we go. We pulled a triple R in our trial deck. No SP, but I mean, like, you can't win them all. And so yeah, there we go for the trial deck. Now, let's go ahead and clean up and get ready for the main attraction, the booster boxes. Alright guys, let's get cracking. So we will be opening 2 booster boxes today. As we mentioned earlier, the SP rate per booster case of Danmachi, you should be expecting 3 SPs per case of 18 boxes. So approximately 1 SP per 6 boxes. So we'll go ahead and get cracking right into our first box. So there are 4 possible box topper promos that you can pull out of this. And honestly, they're all pretty decent box toppers. Although there is one that stands above the rest, which is the level 0 Hestia. So hopefully we can pull that out of our second box. As far as the promo that we pulled in this one, we have the level 1 Bell, who he has the exact same set effects as a card that has seen competitive play previously in Sword Art Online, which is level 1 Lisbeth. When he attacks, he can gain 2k power if you have 2 or more other characters, and when he is reversed, if you reveal the top card and it is a level 2 or higher character, he gets to rest himself, so basically allowing you to save yourself a card. Every booster box of Danmachi does have 16 booster packs, as is the norm for booster packs these days. And let's get right into our first box. So there are a couple of themes, gimmicks throughout this set. So one of them has to do with experience, and the other one has to do with cards like leveling up and gaining bonuses once they reach a certain level. Both of those are very fitting for a title like Danmachi, where you have characters leveling up and gaining new skills and things like that. So hopefully we'll get to take a look at some of those cards. So take a look at for our first pack, we have take a look at some of our commons. We have so far we have Wealth, Tione, we have Ryu, and we have Tiona. So we pulled both the Tione and Tiona in the same pack. Getting into our uncommons, we have Seer. Another central theme of this particular set is it uses a lot of event cards, and most of these event cards have to do with skills that the characters use, such as Bell's Firebolt, or weapons that the characters use. For example, the Ushi Wakamaru we see here. This is the weapon that Welf crafts for Bell out of the Minotaur's horn. And it's a very event-centric deck. As far as the competitive builds go, you will be seeing a lot of event cards. We have a 2/1 Hestia, and then for our first rare of the box, we have level 0 Aina. So this is a card that interacts with Magic Stone event, which is it's kind of a stock swap event, but it shuffles your opponent's stock into their deck instead. But this card allows you to potentially convert that Magic Stone into characters from Waiting Room being put into stock. So pretty neat card, allowing you to convert your resources in various ways. And then for our first climax, we have the Bell climax. This is definitely a very powerful moment of that first season when his abilities really started to awaken. And as you can see in the flavor text, I can't be rescued by Ais anymore. He really wants to prove himself as an adventurer. And I believe this is the climax that goes with the level 2, which is definitely perfect card to go with this exact moment. Hopefully we get to pull that level 2 Bell later so we can show you guys, because that's a very interesting card. All right, moving on to our second pack, we have the Hestia level 1 2K counter, or no, not 2K counter, this is an anti-change counter actually. So if you're looking to play against anti-change, or if you're looking to play against a lot of early plays and you want a way to get rid of them off the board, you can look into the Hestia. We have the Seer, we have level 0, we have Vanilla Ryu, and we have our first foil of the box. We have the triple R Hestia climax. This is actually, I believe this is the one that goes with one of the most popular and powerful double Rs in the set, which is the level 3 Hestia. So we'll go ahead and keep this right here, and then hopefully we can confirm that if I pull the Hestia out of a later pack. But that's definitely, assuming this is the correct climax, this is a pretty great card to pull. And for our uncommons, we have Ryu counter, we have 1/1 Bell. This is one of the characters, as I mentioned earlier, that it gains bonuses when it has a higher level. So multiple cards in this set, they have an ability that if you have enough characters on board, they will gain power and a level, and a second ability that says if they are level 2 or higher, or level 3 or higher, basically if they are a higher level than their printed level, then they gain additional power. So this Bell is actually if you fulfill the condition, he is a 1/1/8/5, which is very strong. And unless your opponent has some sort of mechanic like a level down, being able to reduce your character's level, he's going to be pretty big, pretty beefy, and might be hard for your opponent to deal with. And for our rare, we have the Little Rookie Bell. This is an early play if you have 4 more characters. On play, heal, and then on attack, if you have no markers, you can choose up to 1 Ushi Wakamaru and up to 1 Hestia Knight from your waiting room, those being, of course, 2 of Bell's weapons. And you can put them underneath him as markers, and for each marker he has, he gains 1500 power. So potentially allowing him to become a 10/5 early play healer that requires 4 more climaxes as his condition, which is really strong. Typically, I consider a 4 or more early play par for the course is like 10k power. So if you're able to get this Bell up to 10/5 power, that can be very strong. But in some of the more popular builds, they actually choose not to include the Ushi Wakamaru event. Instead, just letting him be a 9k max power early play healer. But having access to healers is better than not. So even if you aren't able to get that power, being able to put him on the board, get that heal value could be very good. And here we have for our climax, the Eye's Choice. Alright, moving on to pack number 3. We have the Bell that comes with 2 soul. He can give one of your characters on cancel, you get to bounce the 2 soul back to your hand, which I think is quite interesting. Here we have the Eyes level 0. She's a stock bomb that can actually gain choice trigger on herself if you have either of the Eyes choice climaxes in your climax area. So this essentially allows you to play 12 choice climaxes, but Personally, I don't think that her other ability, which is just her being a level 0 stock bomb, personally, I don't think that that is strong enough to justify running her in your decks, even though you are able to potentially get extra choice triggers. We will actually see more cards in upcoming sets that can gain choice, or that can gain triggers, such as in Quintessential Quintuplets 2. But for now, we have the Ais level 0 that works with choice. We have Loki, very, very funny character. She just cannot catch a break when she's next to Hestia. Those two are just gonna argue for days. Here we have Freya, level 0 Freya, as our next common. And then for a level 3, I'm actually kind of surprised it's an uncommon. It's not a terrible card. It's a 3/2 healer, and then climax combo with the choice climax. When she attacks, you can pay 2, look at up to 3 cards from the top of your opponent's deck, and then send any of them to the waiting room that you want and leave the rest on top. So it's basically a mocha for 3. The stock cost a little bit high at 2 stock on attack, but you are running a deck with choice climaxes because of her climax, so potentially allowing you to build a lot of stock and allow you to utilize this climax combo. So if you're looking for a pretty good budget option, definitely could look into running this Ais. We have 3/3 event. Again, another event that's based on the weapons that they featured in the show. In this case, this is a burn 3 and send this to memory event. We have level 1 Hestia, and then for our rare, we have the level 1 Loki. When she's placed on stage from hand, you can discard any traded character to search your deck for the level 1 Ais climax combo, which is a double R. You get to add it to your hand and shuffle your deck afterwards. So if you're playing a deck with the level 1 Ais combo as your advantage combo, you could look into playing this Loki, as it allows you to more easily secure copies of that combo so that you can get use out of those. Here we have one of the strongest cards in the set, for sure, this level 0 Hestia, and I can't believe this card is a common, by the way. So, Danmachi among JP players has a reputation of being a bit of a standby killer, and this card is definitely one of the big reasons. So she has 2 abilities. When she's placed on stage from hand, you can look at up to 3 cards on top of your deck, choose up to 1 event card from among them, add it to the hand, send the rest to waiting room, and then if you added a card to your hand, you discard a card. So at worst, she is a free mill up to 3. You can just play her. You can choose to mill nothing. You can choose to mill 1, 2, or 3 with no downside whatsoever. And in an event-heavy deck, having the ability to add an event from the top 3 to your hand, filter something out that you don't need, very, very strong. But a really big reason as to why Danmachi is considered a standby killer is that this card's second ability is when she's placed on stage from hand, you get to choose one of your opponent's characters, and that character cannot move during your opponent's next turn, or until the end of your opponent's next turn. So if your opponent, like let's say they standby out a really big 2/2 to their back row, and they intend on moving it to the front on their next turn and using it to attack and put pressure on you. This Hestia, you just slap it on the board and you say, no, you are stuck there. You are not moving, and you got to play something else. So, a very, very strong card. This is one that you're going to be seeing a lot in the competitive builds. Just such a strong card. I can't believe this is a common. And yeah, definitely one to look out for. We have the Hestia Anti-Change. We have the Ina level 0. We have Ryu Vanilla. And we have our first double R of the box, and this is a very, very popular double R, which is the level 0 Hestia Brainstorm. She is a tap self-search Brainstorm, and in addition, once per turn, when you play an event, you may draw 1 card, and if you do, discard a card. Again, in a deck that is as event-heavy as Danmachi, being able to have access to this draw-ditch utility can be very powerful for converting resources, getting cards that you don't need in your hand out of your hand to get more useful ones. And this Hestia is definitely one of the most useful double Rs that you can pull out of Danmachi. It's a really good pull. We have the 1/0 Grimoire event. We have the 3/2 Wealth, which actually interacts with the 3/3 Magic Sword event. He basically allows you to play this without paying any cost, which is really, really cool. It's sort of a similar mechanic to the 3/2 Milim Climax combo that we've seen in That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime Volume 2, where it allows you to play the Drago Buster event at a reduced cost. Alright, for our rare, we have the 3/2 Seer back row, being able to give 2k and hexproof to your characters in front of her, as well as on-play search. Alright, let's keep it going. Move a little bit faster from here on out. Here we have our next double R. We have the level 1 Ryu. So this has a climax combo that in JP, by the time Danmachi had come out, this is actually the third time that this kind of climax combo was printed, I believe. But funnily enough, in English, this is actually the first time that we are seeing this climax combo. And the second time in English will be the upcoming Quintessential Quintuplets Volume 2. So this Ryu has a climax combo where if you have experience 2, you on attack discard a card, and you look at up to 3 cards on top of your deck, and then you can add up to 3 traded characters from among them to your hand. So this basically allows you to potentially go +2 by discarding your card and adding 3. So really, really strong card, allowing you to just fill up your hand all at once. Unfortunately, her power is not super great, just being 5k base and then not gaining any additional power apart from the climax, which is a gold bar. But pretty good combo overall if you're just looking to add a whole bunch of cards to your hand. Our second double R. We have the level 0 Finn. This is notable for being a tap self salvage brainstorm compared to the Hestia, which is a tap self search. And he has a secondary effect where you can add additional cards to your clock and then send them into the waiting room at the end of the turn. And that's intended to be utilized with cards from the Loki Familia such as Tione and Tiona, where they gain bonus power if you have 3 or more cards in your clock. But most of the time, if you are playing this card, you will mostly just be using him as a tap self salvage brainstorm, which is in itself very good utility, very, very useful on its own. Here we have another very strong low rarity card in the level 0 Bell. This is actually another one that we will be seeing in the competitive builds for his first effect. So at the beginning of the opponent's attack phase, you can pay 1 stock, put the top card of your deck to clock, and then you bounce back the Bell and one of your other characters back to your hand. So this allows you to preserve 2 cards at the same time, being able to save your Bell from getting run over, your other character from getting run over, at the cost of 1 stock and 1 clock. So pretty powerful card. And because it bounces the cards back to your hand, it allows you to reuse powerful on-play abilities such as the level 0 Hestia that we saw earlier. You get to reuse both of her on-play abilities, the top 3 looking for an event, as well as stunning one of your opponent's characters. Very, very powerful interaction between these two. And one other thing is that this Bell actually has really good synergy with the Ais level 0 from the trial deck. As the Ais says, she gains 1500 power if you have 1 or less other characters. But like, let's say you play all 3 of these on your board, the Ais isn't going to be getting that 1500 buff. But when you use Bell's ability at the start of your opponent's attack phase, not only are you taking these characters off the board so that you can reuse them for next turn, it makes it so that you have 1 or less characters in the front row to allow Ais to gain her 1500 boost, as well as freeing up the spaces in your front row. And now Ais can move around as she pleases. So in the meta builds, this is one very powerful interaction between cards like these in the Danmachi level 0 line. So definitely look into using these cards for your meta builds, or even just a like trial deck plus type of build, because as I said, these are very, very low rarity cards and very easy additions to your deck, and they can synergize very well with cards such as that level 0 Ais that we saw in the trial deck. Alright, so we've done a lot of talking about these low rarity cards, but honestly, some of these cards are just so strong for their rarities, and you definitely do not want to underestimate cards in Weiss Schwarz just because they're low rarity, because you find some diamonds in the rough like these that find their way into some of the most competitive decks, and they are very, very strong. Alright, moving right along, we have the Gareth, another card that gains a level and then gains further power if he has a high level. We have the 2/2 Wealth. This is a standby target, and speaking of standby, we did pull the Wealth standby climax. So it's pretty much like a 2/2 encore type of profile, big 2/2. Funny thing about Danmachi is that they only have one standby in the actual set itself. So if you want to play an 8 standby deck, you will actually have to get the Hestia standby climax, which will be given out to all participants of the Bushiroad Championship Series tournaments later on this year. So that will be the main way that you can get those Hestia climaxes and start playing 8 standby Danmachi if you so choose. All right, we have the level 0 Aina, another very powerful low rarity card. She is both a drop search and a bottom deck bomb, and so you can just use her for the utility of the drop search, or in specific matchups such as the ever popular Hololive production. If your opponent has characters that activate on death, such as level 0 Aqua, you can use Aina to just remove those from the board, prevent your opponent from using that powerful on death ability. Very, very useful card in the current metagame. And I just realized I didn't even finish the last pack, but we do have a level 0 Tiona. This is a climax swapper. Very, very useful card just for finding the right climax, and this is a card that you'll often just see as a one-of in most Danmachi decks, just because Climax Swap is a very useful utility. Alright, for our rare, we have an on-reverse Rize, Bell and Hestia. Just a vanilla on-reverse Rize, but pretty good utility. Now, as Danmachi is a very event-heavy deck, it can actually be a little bit harder to utilize cards such as the Bell and Hestia, because you will be seeing so many events in the top cards of your deck, and the Bell and Hestia is only able to add character cards. So just watch out for that when you're choosing which cards you want to add to your deck, in case you are running a lot of event cards. Alright, and no double R in this pack. We do have the level 0 Mia. It actually interacts with 2 vanilla cards. It's a pretty neat interaction there. And for our rare, we have the 3/2 Ryu Clock Shooter. One of the few cards in this deck that have experience. She has experience 6, gaining 1500 power, making her an 11/5 Clock Shooter. So pretty good card. And she also heals to bottom deck as well, on top of being a Clock Shooter. So pretty neat card. If you're a fan of Ryu, this is definitely a powerful top-end card that you can look at playing. Alright, there we have that powerful level 0 Hestia again. We have Aina's Present, which is an event. It's actually a pretty neat event when you combine it with a specific 1/1. And then we have the level 3 Bell. He has an on-play top X ability, as well as allowing you to deal 1 damage on attack by paying 1 and discarding a character if you have a Hestia Knife in your waiting room. And I actually think Hestia Knife we have not yet pulled yet, so we do need to get one of those. It's a very important card for Danmachi strategies. Here we have our next double R, the 3/2 Ais. So this Ais has an experience requirement of having a copy of herself in your level zone, and it allows her to get plus 1500 power and hexproof. In addition, she is a 2 or less climax early play, and she has the ability where when she's placed on stage from hand, she gets 4500 power, and your opponent, or neither player, can play backups during this card's battle. So useful profile for getting rid of some of your opponent's big threats without fear of your opponent playing character backups. It's a very similar card to the 3/2 Shirogane, the Miyuki Shirogane that we've seen in Kaguya-sama builds, although she doesn't have that clock shooter ability, instead having hexproof. Alright, finishing off this pack for our rare, we have the level 0 Mikoto. It gives front 1k to level 0 characters in front of her, and if you are at level 1 or higher, you can just put her in your waiting room and then grab Gravity Cage Mikoto and play it on stage in this card's position. Alright, keep going. No double R in this pack. And then here we have the Hestia Knife. This is a very important card with the main level 1 combo that sees a lot of play in Danmachi, which is the level 1 Bell double R. So this is basically like Torch from Goblin Slayer. So you need a Hestia or a Bell in order to play this, and you need a Bell specifically in order to play this as a counter. And this card can be played without fulfilling color requirements, so if you only have red, never fear, you can play this even without having blue. and you get to look at up to top 4 from the top of your deck, choose up to 1 traded character from among them to your hand, from among them add it to your hand, send the rest to waiting room. So it's a great way to mill through your deck, and you're going to be grabbing a lot of copies with this when you're playing Danmachi, just throughout the game. We're going to keep this over here, just so that we can refer to it later in case we get the Bell level 0, or the Bell level 1 rather. For our rare of the pack, we have the Ais and Hestia. This allows you to pay 1, discard 1 card on play to look at up to X cards from the top of your deck, and add 1 to your hand, where X is the number of your other traded characters. And in addition, you can pay 2, send it to waiting room to grab a specific Ais and place it on stage from your waiting room in this card slot. All right, still got a few more notable cards to go. So we have level 0 Hestia. This is 1 or less characters on attack. You get to mill the top card of your deck, and if it is a level 0 character, you can summon it to stage in your back row. And also, when she gets reversed, you mill 2. If you mill a level 2 or higher card, you get to put her into stock. So, pretty neat card. Okay, we have level 2 Lily. This is not the most popular pick, but I just think that this card is pretty funny and notable because so it can be a 2/1 9K by revealing the top card, and if it is a character, you get to marker it. But funny thing about this card that I think people didn't really notice is that this card does have 2 soul. So if you're looking for a 1 cost 2 soul attacker, you could potentially look into just playing this Lily for the funsies. And then here we have another event that sees a lot of play in the main build of Danmachi, which is Pyonkichi. This is the event that lets you salvage a character and give 4K to one of your traded characters. And it is a 1/1 event, but there is a wealth that allows you to play this for 0 cost. So very, very powerful interaction. Being able to get a free salvage as well as 4K power is super strong. And for our rare, we have the Seer. She has a climax combo of her own with a gold bar. And also, when you play any climax, you get to give one of your characters 1500 power cross turn. Not the most popular combo, but definitely one to look into. Funny thing about this set is that I believe there's only 2 gold bar climaxes. There's the level 1 on the Ryu, and there's the level 0 on the Seer. So there's no finisher gold bar. So you would have to play a finisher from another color, or you can just play the Ryu clock shoot, as she is a finisher that does not require a climax combo. All right, here we have the Otaru. Who, this is a very funny card. If you have 2 or more other Familia, Guild, or Hostess of Fertility characters, this gets plus 5 levels and 2500 power. So he becomes a level 7 character. If you partner him with a level assist, he's going to be getting plus 3500 power, which is just kind of crazy. And the only thing that is really problematic about that is that he isn't a 2-soul character, so you can't really capitalize on his gigantic body as you would with standard 2/2 standby targets. All right, let's move on. A few more cards. We have, for our next double R, we have Argonaut Bell. Let's go ahead and just finish off the pack. Here's the wealth that he allows you to play the 1/1 event for free. Wait, the 1/1 event, he allows you to play it for, or actually no, this is not. This is the combo. There's a different wealth that allows you to play for free. My bad. So this is the climax combo with the standby, basically allowing you to salvage a character based on the number of the draw 1 event, which is the Ushiwakimaru. This one right here. It allows you to salvage based on the number of this in waiting room, and in addition, he is also a level 1 bump. But now let's take a look at the Bell. This is a very, very interesting card. So he's a 2/1 4K, and this card absolutely encompasses the spirit of the Argonaut skill, where he just grows and grows and grows. So when you have experience 3, he gains 7,000 power and hand encore, turning him into a 2/1 11K, which is pretty massive. If you bring this out with standby at level 1, he can just be really, really huge and annoying for your opponent to deal with. And then his climax combo with the gate climax, which it's actually not this one. It's this one right here, Heroic Shot. So climax combo with the Heroic Shot gate climax. It requires experience 7, which I think is the only time a card has ever required experience 7 that wasn't like a flavor effect. Because we have seen ones before where it's like experience 7, they gain some trait that means nothing. But having experience 7 with this Bell actually allows him to become a pay 3 restander at the end of his attack. So one thing that I know a lot of people have a bit of a problem with when it comes to restanders, specifically on level 3s, is that if your opponent's board is empty, your restander is going to swing for like 4 and then 5 afterwards if it's like double direct attacks. But this Bell, because he's only a base 1 soul character, if you're directing with him, he swings for 3 and then 4. So it's not exactly unreasonable damage numbers. So this potentially could be a pretty neat finisher if you're looking for some restand pressure that isn't swinging for super high numbers like you would see in other decks. So it's pretty neat Bell card, and like as I said, it definitely embodies the spirit of his Argonaut skill. All right, let's go ahead and finish off the rest of this box real quick. We have level 0 Ryu. This is both a salvage Ricky. On play, you can pay 1, clock 1, salvage any traded character, and also on attack, you get to choose your trigger from among the top 2 and send the other one to waiting room. This is what we like to refer to as the Crush effect, off of the Crush level 1 from Re-Zero, way back in Re-Zero set 1. Let's go ahead and just speed through this. We have Firebolt. This is another event card that we're going to want to come back to. The Hestia level 2. This is a half Fumio as well as a Blink. Very powerful 1 of utility card that you can include in basically any Danmachi deck. We have the 1-0 Hestia, which allows you to, on play, discard a card, reveal the top card of your deck. Or sorry, not reveal the top card of your deck. You get to salvage a character whose level is equal or lower than the number of Argonaut Bells in your waiting room. So definitely a card where if you're running the Argonaut Bell, you're going to want to run this Hestia for some targeted hand fix that doesn't require any stock. And for our very last pack, do we have a second foil? Looks like we do. And our second foil is the 1-1 Aina level support. So in addition to being a level support, this actually has a really funny interaction with this 1-1 event. So this 1-1 event usually requires you to sack a character. So you would have to basically go -2. And then it puts the event into memory, and the event in memory becomes a global 1k to all of your characters. But this Aina turns it into a counter, so you can basically treat it as a sack counter, which makes the event much more playable. A good friend of mine has a pretty silly deck that utilizes the interaction between these two cards, and I thought it was really neat, and definitely worth mentioning now that we have pulled the foil 1-1. A couple of uncommons. We have the Gravity Cage Mikoto. This is the one that you can change into with the level 0 that we looked at earlier. It's a level 1 combo. And then for our rare, we have the 1-0 Tione. And that concludes our first box. So we pulled some really nice cards. We got to talk about a lot of some of the really strong lower rarity characters. And in addition, did pull ourselves a couple of really nice foils. Only 4 double Rs, so not guaranteed 5 double Rs in every box, but we'll hopefully be able to pull some of the other double Rs, show you guys more of what the set has to offer in the second box. So let's go ahead and get some quick cleanup and get right into our second booster box. All right, guys, on to box number 2. Let's go ahead and get this in here. All right, so again, there are 4 possible box topper PRs that we can get in Danmachi. First one we pulled was Bell, and out of our second one we have... There it is. This is the one we want to see, the Skill Activation Hestia. So this is definitely the big winner. This card sees a lot of play in competitive builds. So you can rest this Hestia to give one of your characters 1k power until the end of turn, and then her other ability is when you play an event, you can put this card into your stock. And so this can be very useful with the Hestia Knife. So typically when you attack with a character, especially one as low as this, it will probably treat that character as if it's guaranteed to get run over and it'll go to waiting room, and you're basically treating that as a guaranteed loss of a card. But by using it with the Hestia knife, which is a counter, you can actually attack with the Hestia. Let's say your opponent's board is too big, so you like side attack with the Hestia, and then on your opponent's turn, when they are attacking, you play the Hestia knife, and it allows you to take this Hestia that normally would have just gotten reversed and go to waiting room, and allows you to convert it into a resource by turning it into stock. And that is what makes this Hestia really, really strong. It also allows you to basically have sort of like a sack counter mechanic where if your opponent has an on-reverse ability, you can use the Hestia knife, send the Hestia to stock, and it avoids your opponent's on-reverse ability. So very, very strong interaction, and definitely this is the box topper PR that you're going to want to be looking out for as you open your booster boxes of Danmachi. Alright, box number 2, here we go. We're going to go ahead and shift these over a bit. We're going to go ahead and keep these here, as I do want to potentially come back to those if we pull the level 1 Bell that I was talking about earlier. Alright, but we've looked at a lot of the really good low rarity cards already, so we're just going to go ahead and speed through. Here we have the regular version of the 1/1 Aina that we pulled the foil of in our first box. Alright. Here we have, oh wait, no, that was not the card I was thinking of. I was thinking of the level 2 killer, but that's actually a different card than the one we just pulled. Here we have the level 1 Hestia, which we pulled. So yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the climax for the level 3 Hestia, in which case this is definitely a big win for us, as this is a climax that is going to be seeing a lot of play in competitive Danmachi decks. Alright. And here we have, for our foil, we have Unyielding Feelings. So going back and looking at the climaxes from the first box, so this one must be the level 1 Bell Triple R climax. So in that case, we pulled basically the 2 best possible Triple Rs, I believe, from the set. We pulled the level 1 Bell Gate climax, which is the most popular level 1 combo, and we pulled the level 3 Hestia's Pants climax, which is the most popular level 3 climax. So really, really good climax pulls there. We have the level 3 Lily. So this is a on-play bouncer, and also she does not get any soul penalty when she side attacks this turn. So this can be a very, very useful tech option against if we're in a metagame where things like money counters or rest counters are really prevalent. This Lily can be very, very useful, allowing you to bounce one of your opponent's characters and also allowing her to side attack for free, allowing you to have multiple lanes avoiding those money counters and rest counters. And she has a second effect that is basically, it gives double cancel burn 1 by discarding a specific double R Lily that we have not yet pulled, and also paying 2 stocks. So definitely an option for a non-climax combo finisher. And we have another copy of the Little Rookie Bell that we pulled in our first box. Alright. And for our next rare, we have Hermes, which is an anti-trait, and he also has on play, pay 1, put him, or not on play, pay 1, put him into memory to look it up to 3 from the top of your deck and add one of them to your hand and send the rest to, add a character from among them to your hand and send the rest to waiting room. One of the few ways that you can get memory in Danmachi, although memory definitely not a main part of Danmachi's strategy. Alright, still have not seen a double R yet in this box. Another copy of the level 1 Loki that goes with the level 1 Ais. And here we do have our first double R of the box. This is actually the level 0 Lily that I was just talking about that goes with the level 3. So this card has 2 effects on play when you play this from stage from When you place this on stage from hand, your opponent declares 0, 1, 2, or 3, and then you mill the top card. And if the card that you milled is the level that your opponent declared, you draw up to X cards, where X is the number your opponent declared plus 1. So let's say you play this, your opponent declares 2. You mill a level 2, you can draw up to 3 cards. It's not the most reliable way of getting advantage, obviously, but sometimes you will just randomly get cards off of this. And the main reason that you would run this card is for the second ability, and also to utilize it with the level 3 Lily. So her second ability is coin flip, bounce. So at the start of your opponent's draw phase, you put the top card of your deck into waiting room. So normally coin flip bouncers, they just reveal the top card and they leave it on top, but this one actually mills it. And if the card that you mill is level 1 or higher, you can return this Lily back to your hand. This allows you to potentially reuse her on play ability to try to draw more cards, or it allows you to put it back in your hand in order to utilize for the Lily level 3, as you do need this for the discard cost. So personally, not one of my favorite profiles. I'm not a huge fan of coin flip bounce, but if you're a fan of Lily, you could look into playing this card in your decks. And then for the rest of the pack, a few cards we've already seen. We're going to go ahead and put that on the bottom because I don't want to get flagged by YouTube. Okay. The foil version is honestly even less family friendly, but that's just kind of how Hestia is. Hestia's design is something else. All right. And nice, we pulled for our next double R of the box, we pulled the card that I've been looking out for, the level 1 Bell. So this is the most popular level 1 combo for Danmachi for sure, and he interacts with both of these events that we have here. So we have the Firebolt event, and we have Hestia's Knife. So first things first, let's go ahead and read Firebolt. So this is a 1/0 event that allows you to salvage a character whose level is equal or lower than the number of bells in your waiting room, the number of level 1 bells in your waiting room. So this has multiple implications. First of all, you will always be able to salvage Bell, because if you have Bell in your waiting room, then you can salvage level 1 or lower. So this gives you very easy access to your level 1 combo, as long as your bells are in your waiting room, of course. And the other implication that this has is that this can always salvage a level 0. And as we've seen already, there are a lot of very powerful level 0 utility cards that you can have access to, such as the level 0 Hestia that allows you to go through the top 3. And beyond that, you can just grab higher level characters for no stock cost as long as you have enough bells in your waiting room. Now the Bell also interacts with the Firebolt. Since this Bell on attack, he has 4,500 base power, but gains an additional 1,500 for every copy of Firebolt in your waiting room. So if you have, let's just say on average, you have 2 Firebolts in your waiting room and you attack with Bell with the 1k1 climax, he's already attacking for 8,500 power, which is more than enough to get over those 1-1-7-5 standby targets that you will usually see in standby decks. Although, if you have even more Firebolts in your waiting room, you can get even higher. So, if you have all 4 copies of Firebolt in your waiting room, you can get plus 6,000 from his first attack, which, with the climax on top, allows him to attack for a massive 11.5 power, which can even beat 2/2s in standby decks. And that's another big reason why Danmachi is considered like the standby killer in the JP meta, between the level 0 Hestia, stunning cards in your opponent's back row, and the level 0 or the level 1 Bell, crushing your opponent's front row. So you get rid of all of your opponent's front row, they cannot move their like standby out 2/2s from the back row to the front. Instead, they have to play completely new cards from their hand, and they might not have anything that can deal with you. Now the climax combo itself, because we haven't even gotten to the climax combo yet, is when this card is on your front row and you play the climax, you get to either search your deck for a Hestia Knife, or you get to salvage a Hestia Knife. And so that allows you to just get all the knives into your hand. It allows you to have them ready for if you want to activate the level 0 Hestia PR, or if you want to mill through the deck. Let's say you're out of a lot of climaxes, you can just use Hestia Knives when your opponent starts attacking you. And it's just a lot of really, really neat event synergy between these cards that allows you to get a lot of value and play a very event-based deck. So let's just finish up this pack real quick before I get to the next one. Typically in the main builds, you will see 4 copies of the Pyonkichi event, 4 copies of Firebolt, 4 copies of Hestia Knife. And yeah, that is a lot of events, but the amount of utility that you get between all these events is very, very strong and allows you to play a very, very consistent game plan. Alright, so let's get on to our next pack. No double R here, and we have uncommon, we have another Hestia Knife. And for our rare, we have the level 0 Hestia that allows you to potentially summon more level 0s, potentially go to stock. This is a card that we've already pulled in our last box. And no double R in this pack. We have another copy of the Honorverse Rize. As well as, I believe this is the gold bar for the Ryu double R that we pulled in our first box. Let's double check real quick. This combos with Luminous Wind, yes. This is the correct climax. Alright. Have no double R here. For rare, we have the Aina that works with the Magic Stone event. And for a double R here, we have the level 0 Seer. Let's go ahead and just get through the rest of the pack. This is all stuff we've already seen. The level 0 Seer is a card that lets you give a 1k buff anywhere at the start of your climax phase. And then also she has an act ability that says pay 1, choose one of your characters, and it gets unreversed salvage. So that's an effect that we've seen previously in Sword Art Online on the level 0 Silica. That was a card that saw a lot of play. And I would say that you would like to actually combine this card with the level 1 Bell, as the unreversed salvage is best paired with cards that can get really high offensive power. But the thing is that with the Bell, or with the main deck that has this Bell, you're not really having enough space to run this. There's a lot of really strong level 0s that you would like to be running over this, such as, you know, the level 0 Hestia, the Brainstorm Hestia, the potentially the Ais Runner from the Ice Chaser from the trial deck. So you don't typically have room for this card, despite this being a fairly strong card and having good synergy with the level 1 Bell. Okay, let's check out this pack. All right, here's the level 1 Wealth. Here's the level 1 Wealth that works with the Pyonkichi event. So he has a continuous effect that Pyonkichi gets -1 cost while in your hand, turning it into a 1/0 event. Very, very strong. And in addition, you can pay 1 and rest him. So he is a back row profile, basically. You count the number of Pyonkichi in your waiting room +1, and you can look at that many cards from the top of your deck, add a level 1 or higher card from among them to your hand, and send the rest to waiting room. And so because it says level 1 or higher card and not level 1 or higher character, you are able to add any of the many, 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 many events that you're bound to be running in these decks. So, like, let's say you run 4 of each of these cards, so that's already 16 targets, and then you have level 2s and level 3s on top of that. So very, very good card. And the fact that it lets you selectively mill through however many cards you want in your deck, it gives you a lot of deck control, especially when combined with the level 0 Hestia and Hestia's Knife. So that's another thing that Danmachi's meta build has as one of its big strengths, is you get to have a lot of selectivity about how much of your deck you're going through. And for our next double R, we have the 2/1 Aina. She is a 2k assist to level 3 or higher characters, and you can rest her if you have an event in your waiting room. Choose one of your opponent's characters and give it anti-backup or event until the end of the turn. So this allows you to get in your attacks without fear of any rest counters or money counters or anything like that. Honestly, not the most double R-esque profiles, but definitely a strong card if you're in a metagame where they have a lot of counters and you want to avoid having to play around those. All right, here we have the 1/0 2k counter with Hestia and Lily. Just a normal 2k counter. All right, And we're getting into the last couple packs. And for our second foil of the box, we have the 1-0 Wealth combo. This is the standby combo that we saw earlier with the Blacksmith standby combo. Alright, very nice. And then for our rare of the pack, we have the level 3 Hestia. So this is an early play healer, and the early play condition, I believe, is you need to have the level 0 Hestia Brainstorm in your clock. Yeah, human activity Hestia. So you need to have the level 0 Hestia in your clock, and it allows you to early play this Hestia. She gains 500 power for each of your other Familia or Guild characters, letting her go up to a maximum of 11k power. And then when she's placed on stage from hand, you heal the bottom card of your clock to your waiting room. And so we've seen this with early play heal profiles such as Rhodesia in Mushoku Tensei, where when they have a clock condition early play, it will heal the bottom card of the clock instead of the top, because let's say you clock this Hestia for turn and it healed off the top, you would just lose your early play condition and it would disallow you from playing extra copies of Hestia. But by healing off the bottom, you can play multiple in the same turn by keeping the Hestia in your clock. Very, very strong card. Alright, and for our last pack, let's see what we have. Looks like it's just a climax in the middle though. We have the Lily Salvage Trigger Split Soul Climax. And we're just going to finish off the box with a copy of the level 0 Ryu. And there we have it, guys. So we pulled 4 double Rs in each of our boxes. We did not pull any duplicates though, so we can go ahead and get a quick recap on the last 2 double Rs that we did not hit. Once we just clean up a bit and just take a look at everything. And for our triple Rs, definitely very, very nice triple Rs between the level 1 Bell combo and the level 3 Hestia combo. So let's go ahead and just get a quick cleanup here, get back with those last couple double Rs, and we can take a look at those before we end off our opening. Alright guys, we are back with our recap. We're going to be taking a look at the last couple double Rs that we did not pull. So the 2 that we actually did not end up pulling were the level 1 Ais and the level 3 Hestia. So first up for the Ais, this is mainly a card that you would see play in a dominantly yellow deck. When she attacks, you can choose one of your other characters and give it 2500 power as long as you have a full board. And Climax combo on attack, if you have 5 or less stock and you have the choice Climax in the Climax area, you can discard 1 yellow card to look at up to 5 cards from top of your deck, choose up to 2 traded characters from among them to your hand, and put the rest in your waiting room. So, as I said, mainly going to be seen in a dominantly yellow deck, as you do have to discard yellow cards for the Climax combo. But pretty decent combo overall. But the real star of the show in this set, and the triple R or a double R that we did not pull, was the 3-2 Hestia. So she is an on-play discard 1 heal to stock. She gains 1000 power for each of your back row traded characters, and then her Climax combo with the Pants Climax that we pulled the triple R of. When she attacks, you choose one of your characters and give it +1 soul and cancel burn 2 until the end of the turn for free, which is really, really strong and definitely lets you play a pretty aggressive endgame with these Hestias. So let's say you have 3 copies of Hestia, you could hypothetically stack 3 soul onto 1 Hestia and give it triple cancel burn 2. So she'll be swinging for 6, and if it cancels, then your opponent will take burn 3, burn 3, or not burn 3, burn 3, burn 2, burn 2, burn 2. So being able to stack those on a single character can prove to be quite lethal. You get to leverage all those cancel burns on a really, really big swing. Now, before we leave off, we have to show you guys some SPs. And so we have some of the SPs here to show you guys. Not all of them, unfortunately, but we have most of them. So we have the level 0 Lily with the Maya Uchida sign. We have the level 3 Hestia with Inori Minase. Some very, very popular voice actresses in here. So we have also Aina, who I believe has Haruka Tomatsu as her voice actress. So Asuna from Sword Art Online, for those of you who exist in the world, because I'm pretty sure everyone knows Sword Art Online at this point. We have Bell's SP. who is Yoshitsugu Matsuoka, if I remember correctly, who, of course, Kirito's voice actor. And then, of course, Mayochida and Inoue Minase, very, very popular VAs as well. Inoue Minase playing characters such as Rem from ReZero. And then we have the Seer SP, whose, I believe her voice actress is Shizuka Ishigami. Not a voice actress that we see too much on Weiss cards, but she is a pretty great voice actress herself. And finally, so we don't have the Ryu SP, unfortunately, but Ryu sign is Sari Hayami, a very, very famous and talented voice actress. Shows like Spy Family that are airing right now, where she voices Yor. And then the final SP that we have is the 3-2 Ais, which this has the signature of Saori Onishi, who, a voice actress, honestly, I feel like she kind of flies under the radar a little bit. She's a voice actress that I've been really taking a liking to recently. She voices characters such as in Weiss Schwarz, she voices Eriri from Saikano, which Saikano is getting an upcoming English release. Unfortunately, not with voice actress signatures, but Eriri is voiced by Saori Onishi. And then also, if you guys are fans of, like, for example, Uma Musume, she voices Mejuro McQueen, which is a very popular character. So yeah, definitely a absolutely stacked cast for Danmachi, and a lot of very lovable characters. And so yeah, that concludes our product opening and card review for Danmachi. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and hopefully you guys learned something as well. Until next time, this has been Randall, aka Shizukatz, on the Tressa's Collectibles channel, and we will be back with more Danmachi stuff, such as deck profiles and gameplay. So keep on the lookout for that, and until next time, see you guys.